Finally got a haircut after like 4 months. It's finally not stupidly long anymore. Hi everybody, it's Jade, and as it has finally decided to be summer in the United Kingdom, we had a few like tentative little toe dips into summer where we had like a really nice day and then suddenly it was like cold and rain, and I'm not saying that's not going to happen again because this is England, so we're going to get rain again at some point. But anyway, back to the point. As it is now sort of officially summer, I decided that I am going to do a kind of summer book tag type thing. I'm being a bit wishy-washy because I looked up a bunch of like summer book tags and I picked and chosen. There we go. I can read and speak, I swear. Prompts from various different tags that I like, and then the second half of this is going to be more of a recommendation based on like feelings and stuff like that. Like the whole thing that I wanted to do was I wanted a bunch of really specific, like, can you recommend me a book that feels like a warm hug or something like that kind of prompts, and I couldn't find any, so I've found a bunch of writing prompts instead, and I've like manipulated them to my own advantage. Anyway, disclaimers and weird explanation out of the way, we will go right into it. And I don't know how many questions I am actually going to do, but we will just see where we get to. The first one, which I believe was from the summer book tag, I can't remember who by, was a book cover that makes you think of summer. And I know exactly which one I'm going to go for. I have a couple of like summery looking books, but this one, Bloom, just feels so like a very specific moment of summer with the pale blues and everything, and that is like when you spent the whole day at the beach and the sun is going down but you're still in that nice like sun-warmed feeling, and you're still kind of on the beach and you're maybe just deciding where you're going to go for dinner, and that's the feeling I get from this, just contentedness and relaxation, and yes, it's summer and I've got nothing that I need to be doing right now. Also, Bloom is just an incredibly summery graphic novel as well, so. The next prompt is a book that brightened your day, and God, there are so many to go with, so I'm gonna pick one that still has like a summery vibe to me. And I feel like anyone who has watched this channel probably knows which book I picked up, but that is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Clune. This one is so lovely and so, like, it's just making me smile just thinking about it. I'm going to reread this at some point. You may also be shocked that I didn't pick up The Starless Sea, but that's not a summery feeling book. This is very summery and very lovely. Okay, next prompt is my favourite beach read. Now, can't remember the last time I read a book on a beach. Can't remember the last time I was on a beach. So I'm going with like a book that is light and not super heavy in its topics, one that you can sort of pick up and put down, that you're just, you know, reading with the waves lapping in the distance and the sound of people being happy and like all that stuff. And you're going to have to give me a moment because I'm going to need to figure that one out. Oh! Actually, I'm going to go with this one. This is Pure by Julianne Baggott, and the reason it looks like this is I bought this book whilst on holiday and I read it on the beach and in the tent because we were camping. And yeah, this is a young adult dystopian novel. Came out just after The Hunger Games became a big hit, but I really, really still like this book. It's so with being an adult, it's not a hard read or anything like that. It's got enough like adventure and explosions and stuff like that which is what I feel like a lot of people look for in their summer reads. It's like action and adventure and stuff like that, all romance. You go like one or the other. Yeah, this is a book set in a post-apocalyptic world after nuclear fallout where people have been like mutated and disfigured and stuff like that, and I really want to reread this actually because I remember loving it. But yeah, I did actually read this on the beach, so I'm going to go with that one. Okay, the next is a book you hope to read this summer. Oh god, there are so many books I hope to read this summer. I mean, I could sort of cheat and go with something that is on my TBR for this month, but I've already talked about those, so I'm probably not. I'm gonna go, because I have my TBR planned out for the next couple of months, so I'm gonna go with one that I'm like hoping to be able to read if I've got enough time to mood read. And that is going to be... Yes, I am going to go with The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers. I'm really hoping to read this summer because I want to read this as soon as possible. This is the 4th in the Wayfarer series, and I've loved the first 3, so the fact that this has been on my shelf for like a month and a bit now and I haven't read it yet because my other TBR books have been like in the way means that like there's probably going to be a time where I'm just going to be like, no, I need to sit down and I need to read this and I need to read it now, because Becky Chambers is a warm hug in a book and like Okay, so now we're moving into there's only 4 from like different book tags. Now we're moving into recommendations based on like writing prompts and like feelings and stuff. So, recommendation of a book that involves a journey. I feel like the journey is potentially one of the things that this book gets picked on for, because there is a lot of walking involved, but it's one of my favourite books of all time and I will recommend it to anyone who is willing to put the time in for it. That is going to be The Lord of the Rings. I mean, you say a book that involves a journey. I was exhausted reading this because of just how much they travelled. So, I mean, who doesn't know what Lord of the Rings is about? It is about an all-powerful evil ring that has fallen into the hands of a little hobbit called Frodo, who is one of these halflings. The hobbits are very, like, non-combative. They like to live their quiet little lives. Like, the main careers for hobbits are gardeners, or, like, gentle hobbits that don't really have anyway. But it's his, job to take this ring to the fires of Mount Doom, many, many, many miles away, and destroy it before the world ends, because a lot of shit is happening, and darkness is coming back and evil is resuming and stuff like that, and it's just a lovely book about love and friendship and the evils of war and how kindness basically usurps that. Okay, I made that actually very short. I could talk about The Lord of the Rings forever, but I'm not going to. Okay, next is a book that feels like a breath of fresh air. So, okay, so this book has also appeared on another one of my recommendation lists because it's just very good, but I'm going to pick People's History of Heaven by Mathangi Subramanian for a book that feels like a breath of fresh air, and I'm going to say that because I'm not very used to reading books set in like India or Bangladesh, as this one is, or things like that, and considering that this is a book about 5 girls living in a Bangladeshi slum, it's not a horrible book, as in like it's not all about how hard their lives are and how awful it is to be in a slum and all that stuff. It's about sisterhood and how they look after each other and how their friendship and everything helps them become who they're going to be, and their families supporting them and working together and stuff like that. And obviously there are dark bits in it, like they live in the slums, they are poor, like abjectly poor, and yet there's a hopefulness to this that I love. Okay, so this one is quite a long one, but it's like a feeling. So basically, a book that feels like someone is driving with the car windows down, singing at the top of their lungs to their favourite song. And I feel like, it might be because I've very recently read this, but I feel like it fits that perfectly, and that's kind of what I felt like reading it. I'm going to go with Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is a book about a band in the 70s, and it's kind of like a documentary type book. Like it's so it's all based on like interviews with all the band members and everything like that, but there's a lot of, sex, drugs and rock and roll set in like California in the 70s. There is a lot of beautiful sunsets and mountains and the thrill of like that kind of lifestyle and stuff like that, which is exactly what I feel like that feeling is. If like a book could feel like a Lana Del Rey song, I feel like that's what that is, and Lana Del Rey to me always feels like a singer that you play in a convertible driving down a highway in summer. This one, potentially I've just made something really hard for myself, but a book that feels like a lightning strike. So what I'm going to go for is a book that kind of shocked me, or that maybe I went into not expecting what I got, and like the punch in the gut and the just kind of feeling. For that one, I'm going to go with Iron Widow by Ziranje Zhao. This book felt like a whirlwind. I felt exhausted reading it because it was so quick and so punchy, and there was so much rage, like, from the main character. She was, like, rightfully, like, angry, just rage-filled the entire time, and it felt like lightning in a bottle. And I think there is, like, a couple of storms in this as well, and it feels like the storms are very reflective of the main character and stuff like that, and it's such a... Like, I think I read it in, like, 2 days or something, because I was just like... It's so fast-paced and so good, and yet, like, the characters still don't feel rushed. They feel real, and they feel tangible, and they feel gritty the way that a lightning storm does. I'm ending a lot of these, like... But, you know, I need to just stand by. These are my recommendations. Okay, a book that feels like the chirping of crickets or the buzz of cicadas. So that, to me, is actually quite a... Maybe it's because I've grown up in the countryside, but that's like a quite relaxing summery sound. Again, it feels a bit like you've been out for the day, the sun is just starting to set, you're just like led in a field with your friends, and you can just hear the sound of nature around you, and everything is like right with the world and calm. So that's what I'm going to try and go for. No, I know what I'm going to go with. Right, I feel like that kind of calm, everything is right with the world can only be fulfilled by a Becky Chambers book. So the one I'm going to go with is A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. Because this, yeah, even though to me it has more of like an autumn feel than a summer feel, it also definitely feels like a journey is involved, but it's a safe journey. It's one that there are never really any like super high stakes, and you can just sit by the campfire and listen to the cicadas and the crickets at the end of the day without worrying that a bear's gonna suddenly like come out and get you. Like, I don't know, this was a comfortable adventure for me, which is exactly what I feel like that prompt sparks in me. Okay, a book for someone who hates summer. So I'm going to try and go for one that inspires like a wintry feeling. No! I know exactly what I'm going to go for. If you already hate summer, this is going to make it potentially worse, but then you're going to feel like, yes, that is why I hate summer, because I felt parched, like dehydrated during this entire book, and that is The Dry by Jane Harper. I was contemplating between this and The Lost Man by Jane Harper, which also takes place in Australian summer, but for this one, the heat of the Australian summer in the middle of a drought is like such an integral part of the story that you spend the entire time just being like, can we just cool down for like a second, please? Like, I'm dying. Yeah, this is a thriller set in the Australian outback in the middle of summer during a drought, so there is a lot of heat, there's not a lot of water, everyone's kind of heightened, like all of their emotions are like heightened and quite like, which I know some people can get during summer. When it gets really hot, I am not pleasant to be around because I'm like, it is too hot, I don't like it. I am a winter, autumn person, please. This one just says, picture yourself in a rose garden. So my brain is instantly gone for, okay, we want to conjure up, for me, roses are very English. So I'm thinking like English classic, probably like a Jane Austen kind of thing. But summery vibes, so... Okay, I mean, I feel like this is my favourite Jane Austen book, so of course I'm going to be recommending it. But I could actually... I was going to recommend Pride and Prejudice, but it doesn't really give me full summer vibes. So what I'm going to recommend instead is Emma by Jane Austen. Still steeped in Jane Austen's like sarcastic British like writing style, which I love, but this has got definitely more of like a summer feel to it in my opinion. That might also be just because I relate it so closely to Clueless, which is a modern retelling of Emma, which like there is a reason why I do. But yep. So Emma, English rose, summery vibes, but just with a little bit of a thorn to them. Okay, so I think we're going to go for one more because I'm struggling to find another one that I can like manipulate into book prompt that isn't a writing prompt. So a book that feels like you're sleeping under the stars, which To me, I'm going to go for a book that you can imagine being told around like an open campfire, something that could be told sort of through any time and place type thing, like an old mythology type story, one that, yeah, can go through like word of mouth and stuff like that. Okay, I was going to go for like Song of Achilles or something because that is a mythology retelling, but once again, not giving me super summer vibes because it makes me cry. So instead, I'm going to go for more of my can be done through word of mouth. This feels like a bedtime story because I feel like it's written that way, so I'm going to go with The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making by Catherine M. Valentine. This is the first in the Fairyland series, and it's so adorable and so great, and is a sort of, it's not a modern day fairy story. I mean, it was written recently, but you know what I mean, as in like it reads like someone telling a child a bedtime story, with all of the imagination thrown in, and kind of a little bit of an off the cuff feel to it. Like you could be telling the story in a round with you coming up with a bit, and then someone to the left of you by the fire pit picks it up and keeps going, and that kind of thing where it feels very communal in a way. Maybe because of the ensemble cast in it, or because of the fact that, let me just read you one of the chapter titles. Okay, so chapter 1 is Exeunt on a Leopard, in which a girl named September is spirited off by the means of a leopard, learns the rules of fairyland, and solves a puzzle. So each chapter starts with a description of what happens in that chapter. And I love that. And I can't explain why. Okay, I don't know why this felt so rushed because I've just looked at my camera and I've been filming for quite a while. So I'm going to wrap it up now. Those were all of my book recommendations for summary type reads. If you have any other like very specific reading like cravings that you want satisfied and you want like a recommendation for, please leave a comment below. Or if you've got a like, oh, I really enjoyed this book and I'm looking for something similar to it, also leave that below. I'm sure I can try and come up with something that you would like to read. If you enjoyed this video, maybe consider giving it a like and letting me know if you've read any of the books that I recommended and if you enjoyed them as much as I did. Maybe subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one, but absolutely no pressure. Follow me on Bookstagram if you want more in-depth reviews of the books that I read as I read them, and, you know, book hauls before I make a big book haul video, that type of thing. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!